Thank you for that clarification. I believe I moved the bill.
Can I follow up on Senator Walk's question about the 10 of the 11 other states? What has there been their experience? I mean, the opposition comes up and expresses concern. You know, we now have 10 other states that had it. We know that they're there. They had the kinds of challenges that have been expressed by the opposition? No.
I don't want to mischaracterize what
In your view?
proposed. In my view, they like things generally the way they are, and they're concerned that other people might get access to their information. Some people see it as I think one person mentioned, a potential terrorist target.
Right. But has that been the experience of the jurisdiction?
It is not, has not,
that's
to
the
my
question.
knowledge, no.
Yeah, that's my, yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Senator. Senator Allen?
So was your previous answer to Senator Wolk's question kind of addressing this concern that was raised about potential conflict between this bill and the groundwater bill from last year, that you're sort of working out the differences? Or
Yeah, the administration, we're working together, and the testimony of the State Water Board sees this as complementary, not in conflict.
okay, so you totally disagree with the claim that's being made that this isn't?
That would be a succinct way of saying that there is a misunderstanding perhaps, or over concern of what this may or may not do. The people that testified were not in favor of the groundwater bill to begin with. This is some of the concerns on public access to information on, relating to well drilling and groundwater management. You can't manage what you don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Senator Pavley, I'm just going to expand on Senator Allen's comments about the inconsistency under the new SGMA guidelines approved last year. Government agencies, not outside interests, will be the ones charged with maintaining or managing the groundwater resources. So what is the nexus to making it publicly available, that data? My concern, and I think probably the concern of many of the farmers that are here today, is going to expose them to unfounded litigation, causing some significant issues.
To the best of my knowledge, other states have not expressed this concern, and they've been doing this for quite a few years. 160 state agencies already have access to all this information. We haven't seen the problems that they've articulated or expressed concern with. I think with all the appropriate state agencies engaged now in making sure the wording and the language and the privilege information is taken care of, addressed in this bill, I think we're on the right track. I think the information is critically important as we do a better job of managing our groundwater supplies. And it could be very helpful to people, whether it's the person trying to drill a new well in the same aquifer. How far down do you have to go? If the people around you are already at 1,000 feet, you have to make financial reasons. You have to understand what the depth of the well or the water availability is. Also, for average people in the area, you have to know how far people are drilling down if you're going to modify or install a septic system. So there's a lot of sort of practical information that would be very helpful to people. And again, DWR, when you ask for it, you have to go in, fill out a form, say why you need the information, put your name and address down. So I'm not suggesting it goes out on the internet. Maybe at some point it will be. But in this world of access to information to make informed decisions, I think this is an important piece of that discussion.
I appreciate that. One of our business unfriendly mantras in the state of California is our litigation, and passing new laws, certainly opened the door for litigation, legitimate and frivolous. My concern is that we're going to be airing this data and inviting potential litigation, which is going to be a significant cost to the farmers. Also, how are we going to pay for this program? How are we going to?
DWR is allowed to charge a fee. They don't have to.
Okay.
But on your other comment, I should note that the adjudicated basins in the state, which are quite a few, this information is all part of the discussion, and it's certainly a lengthy.
So as this bill moves forward, are you going to be able to articulate what those potential costs are going to be on all these farms?
We can ask DWR to make that available.
Okay.
I wanted to paraphrase what Mr. O'Connor said. The fee is on when someone wants to get the report, not those filing the report. So if the neighbor down the way wants access to the report, fills out the correct forms, they pay for the fee, not the person having to file the well log report.
Okay.
So your farmer does not pay the fee. It's someone else who wants access to the report, maybe an adjacent property owner.
But somebody's got to pay to be the beneficiary of that data and to store.
Well, it's just like you go into a city hall and you ask to have copies of the minutes from a council meeting. They charge you a fee for the time and the Xeroxing.
Which, as you know, coming from local government, it certainly doesn't cover the cost of the many hours that it takes to do significant data retrieval. So there could be some hidden cost to the farmers, which is a concern of mine. So just briefly, my concerns real fast. You're basically providing a roadmap for copper and metal thieves that has had been a pervasive problem in Riverside County with a lot of irrigation equipment, pumping equipment that has been stolen at significant cost to our farmers. I'm concerned about the litigation. And certainly, while there may not have been any terrorist activities in these other states that you mentioned, that doesn't mean that we aren't culpable for some type of terrorist activity by basically illuminating where all of our significant water aquifers are in the state of California. So unfortunately, I won't be able to support the bill today. Senator Hertzberg?
That point you raised, but in a practical matter, look, I know from the refuge people and the fact that people were stealing pipes from the Central Valley and they were taking them and getting cash and the problem that was creating. But isn't this different, if I understand the proposal correctly? Isn't it different that the thief has to make a written request so that all you got to do is look as to who made the request, and it gives you a roadmap to the to the guy who stole the stuff. It's a little different. I mean, it's a real risk, and this stuff's stolen. I mean, I had this in my factory. I had all the copper wire stolen out of it by the gypsies. And it's a problem. I get it, but this is different because the records that are going to be, they're not on the internet. Question I have, but so you've got to make the request. Somebody's got to make the request, and it gives the police a complete roadmap to get there. I mean, to me, this is really a larger, big picture dynamic of the agricultural community and their appropriate independence, and they don't want government in their nose, and they don't want to have to report all this stuff on a day-to-day basis, the fear that tomorrow there's going to be litigation, the fear that tomorrow there's going to be another fee, there's going to be another problem, balanced against this larger dynamic that we're facing in terms of a drought. How do we maintain this agricultural community? We're facing new standards of how to use water, what that looks like, the beneficial use issue, against a larger kind of systemic approach. And that's kind of the policy that we're weighing here and trying to figure out what the appropriate method forward is. And is this a reasonable piece of that equation? That seems to me to be the real debate. But I don't think stealing copper is going to be, it's a legitimate issue in the community. I've seen it. But I don't think on this case where you got to fill out a form as the thief, it's going to actually reach that goal. So I only share that to...
Certainly not a smart thief.
Well, yeah, that's right.
These have always been the brightest people.
Yeah, I know.
Any other? There is a motion, so we'll, Senator Pavley, if you'd like to close.
I'll just quote with what the governor said on the last bill. He said, "I'm directing the Department of Water Resources to work with the author to ensure responsible public access to well logs." That's the intent of this bill. Ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
And the motion is due pass to the Committee on Environmental Quality. Senators Pavley?
Aye.
Pavley, aye. Stone?
No.
Stone, no. Allen? Allen, aye. Fuller? Hertzberg? Hertzberg, aye. Hueso? Hueso, aye. Jackson? Jackson, aye. Monning? Monning, aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1. I will leave it open.
7 to 1, Senator Pavley will leave the file open,
Yeah.
taking us to number 9, SB 204.
Yes, members, Senate Bill 204 is a work in progress. The purpose here is to take some of the recommendations from the Parks Forward Commission. We had a hearing that many of you attended regarding state parks and ability to operate a little more financially independent. And in this measure today, it's the types of issues, frankly, that need to be addressed. There probably will be more. I'm glad to bring this bill back to the committee if this changes in any way. There's an assembly vehicle as well. We're going to have to work with the administration, work with the stakeholders, and the Parks Forward recommendation that has come out and will be thoroughly vetted as well. So think of this perhaps as a placeholder bill. But this looks at expanding services that nonprofits, cooperative associations can provide when concessionaires are not able to provide those materials and services. Making state parks more financially solvent is the goal here. And once this bill authorizes the department to enter into cooperating agreements with youth-serving nonprofits. It expands long-term operating agreements in parks on a limited basis at parks which are still at risk for closure. It authorizes the department to solicit private funds from foundations or others to establish endowments for parks with long-term operating agreements. And there's several items on the list you can read through that actually are recommendations that have come out through discussions, through hearings, or through the Parks Forwards Commission. We're also looking at an amendment to have a pilot program to speed up a general plan development so that general plans are mainly advisory, so that general plans that are mainly advisory or statements of vision would not necessarily have to go through CEQA. Practical suggestions, there'll be several of them coming from the Senate. This is, as I said, a work in progress, several from the Assembly. We'll have to work with Secretary Laird, State Parks Department, Parks Forward Commission, and ask for your indulgence and allow me to continue to work on this measure. State Parks is under the jurisdiction of this committee. We have several departments that need our reaction and response during the next few months. This is the vehicle to do just that.
Thank you, Senator Pavley. Any those in support of the bill, if you could please come forward.
Thank you, Chair and members. Mark Fenstermaker here on behalf of Save Redwoods League, as well as the Sonoma County Agricultural Preservation and Open Space District. We were tracking the Parks Forward process throughout the past year or so. Very pleased to see the Senator taking this issue up, and happy to be working with her as this bill moves forward. So urge your support. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members. Tracy Verdo-Torres with the California State Parks Foundation. Given the fairly recent date of the amendments, we don't have a formal position, but are here to support in concept. We certainly appreciate the Senator's inclusion and highlighting the role that nonprofits have been playing and will continue to play to support state parks. We anticipate having a support position on this bill shortly and look forward to working with the author. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony. Any others in support of the bill at this time? Any opposition to the bill at this time? Seeing none. Moved by Senator Hueso. Senator who? Hertzberg, I'm sorry. Yes.
Just one quick observation, Madam Chair. Given the discussion with respect to Senator Laura, as you're dealing with not-for-profits, as you think this thing through going forward, it might be a good idea to be sensitive in those areas where it's important and you're dealing with not-for-profits to make sure that these guys you're doing deals with are getting paid in a timely manner. Because it really is true. Waiting 11 months to get paid means there's no contract. It means only rich entities can afford to do it. So I only suggest as you think about it, just kind of think about that concept, because it's a good idea, really important.
Mr. Craven assured me it's on the to-do list.
Okay.
We have a long list.
Any other roll? Senator Pavley, would you like to close?
No, I ask for your aye vote. Thank you very much.
The motion is due pass to appropriations. Senators Pavley.
Aye.
Pavley, aye. Stone.
Aye.
Stone, aye. Allen. Allen, I. Fuller. Hertzberg. Hertzberg, I. Hueso. Hueso, I. Jackson. Jackson, I. Monning. Monning, I. Wolk. Wolk, I. So that has 8.
It passes at 8. We'll leave the voting open. Taking us to SB 209, Senator Pavley.
Yes, thank you very much. Members, the good news is this is the last bill, and then I'll lift the call on the other bills. This bill was frankly brought to my attention by quite a few entities, including the administration themselves. We know there are some problems and challenges in relating to how we operate surface mines in our state. There's over 1,000 of them. It's important to have reclamation plans after they're finished and financial assurances. It recognizes that in many cases a local city or local county is the lead agency, but in conjunction and working with the state to make sure their duties are carried out. This bill also is a work in progress. We realize that there is a problem. This is not a solution looking for a problem. The administration, again, is involved in making sure that we do make some minor steps in making sure that we're addressing mining safety and reclamation in a responsible manner. To not do this could affect neighboring properties and neighboring water supply contamination, let alone other kinds of problems. This particular committee's jurisdiction this year is challenging because state parks needs our attention. Doggers certainly needs our attention. Department of Water Resources and the mining areas are just 4 that I can think of, very important issues. So this is, again, a work in progress. We're collaborating with stakeholders, local governments, as well as the administration on this important topic. Ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Pavley. Any supporters, please come forward.
Thank you, Senators, and thank you, Senator Pavley, for introducing this bill. My name's Izzy Martin. I'm the CEO of the Sierra Fund. We're sponsors of this bill, which has won early support from conservation organizations as well as from communities that live around active mines, including the San Juan Ridge Taxpayers Association, Wolf Creek Community Alliance, Grass Valley Claim, and you'll hear from a number of organizations that have the ability to hire lobbyists that are here today supporting the bill. A lot of the folks that live next door to mines are not able to be here today. The Sierra Fund is hoping to speak for them. We've been very concerned at the Sierra Fund about the inconsistent enforcement of SMARA around the state. While some counties do and lead cities do excellent job enforcing SMARA, I was a county supervisor, I was a planning commissioner for 2 terms. I'm very familiar with SMARA and CEQA. However, I'm also aware that many jurisdictions are very inconsistent in their enforcement. We're aware of mines that have been allowed to get their reclamation money back without doing an instant of reclamation. We're aware of mines that haven't been inspected for years. We're aware of mines that have almost no financial assurances. The purpose of the state in enacting SMARA was to make sure that mines are reclaimed. We have thousands of unreclaimed mines in the state already causing enormous environmental and physical hazard threats to our communities. We really need to see that SMARA is enforced. It's not optional, it's the law of the land. This bill, I believe, helps improve inspections, which we see as the key piece of enforcing SMARA. I would like to mention that I am participating in the governor's stakeholder process. I was also appointed by the Department of Conservation to serve on their stakeholder committee to look at SMARA. I've spent a lot of time thinking about these issues, and I believe that this is a very important first step. Sierra Fund remains committed to engage in the stakeholder process. We hope to come out with a consensus bill. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you for your testimony.
Vern Gehring on behalf of the California Native Plant Society. Just briefly, this bill really addresses important issues, as Izzy commented about, the issues dealing with protecting the public welfare and our natural resources. We really urge the committee to move forward with this bill so it can reflect the discussions currently underway between the administration and stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Bill Alio for the Environmental Working Group and support. We thank the author for introducing it and also appreciate the administration's involvement. And I know the Department of Conservation has been busy with a lot of stuff dealing with fracking and oil and gas, but I know that Director Nekodum is committed to this issue also. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kelly Ditto on behalf of California League of Conservation Voters in support. Excuse me.
Thank you.
Jennifer Clary for Clean Water Action in support.
Thank you for your testimony. Any others in support of this bill? If not, I'll call on the opposition to come forward, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. Again, I am Lee Adams, a Sierra County Supervisor and the current chair of Rural County Representatives of California, representing the 34 rural counties in California. I want to begin by saying that although RCRC feels we need to be on record in opposition to certain provisions of the measure, we want to express our sincere gratitude to the author, Madam Chair, and her staff, who seem to have a genuine desire to work with local government on our concerns. We recognize this is a work in progress, and we are hopeful that all of our issues can be resolved. In addition to the key concerns outlined in my comments and our letter that we have passed out, we do have additional concerns with some of the intent language that we have shared directly with the author's staff. The issues that I want to raise today are of special concern to rural areas. The current language of SB 209 severely limits the pool of qualified surface mining inspectors to a state licensed geologist, geophysicist, or civil engineer that has not worked within the jurisdiction of the lead agency for a surface mining operation within the previous 12 months. This creates challenges in several ways. As written, the bill eliminates most county staff that have historically been conducting the inspections. Under existing statute, the county mining inspector could engage the help of a licensed professional if they deemed it so warranted, whether it was a geologist, engineer, landscaper, forester, depending on the issue. SB 209 narrows this pool considerably from existing law. State licensed geologists, geophysicists, and civil engineers are often a very small pool of individuals, especially in the more rural areas. SB 209 includes a provision that the inspector could not have been employed by any mining operation in the jurisdiction, again, any mining operation in the previous 12 months. This effectively eliminates any local professional from being able to conduct the inspections. This would require the lead agency to hire out-of-county professionals, adding to inspection costs. We recommend that this language state that the inspector could not have been employed by the mining operation being inspected during the previous 12 months. As to the inspection of the county's own mines, we recommend that the inspector cannot be employed or have been employed within the previous 12 months in the same department that operates the mine. SB 209 proposes prohibition of all county employees from inspecting county-operated mines, which has implications far beyond this program. Local jurisdictions have been implementing other state programs that inspect county operations, such as local enforcement agencies for solid waste operations and the Certified Uniform Program Agency with hazardous materials. This bill could create a slippery slope that counties would struggle to implement. In short, we would like to see the broadest possible group of qualified people to be eligible for working on mining inspections and verifications. We recommend that the limitation on who can conduct the inspection should ultimately be any state licensed geologist, geophysicist, civil engineer, architect, forester, or a county employee with adequate training as appropriate who has not been employed by the specific operation or county department being inspected for the past 12 months. And again, we look forward to working with the author, other stakeholders, and the administration on these issues and other smaller issues of interest during this legislative session. Thank you.
Thank you for your testimony, sir.
Chair and members, I'm Adam Harper, the Director of Policy Analysis for the California Construction and Industrial Materials Association. As stated in the committee analysis, SB 209 is very much a work in progress. Since so much additional work needs to be done, it is impossible for us and the committee to determine how the unfinished pieces would fit together. We would suggest that the committee defer action on SB 209 until the whole could be analyzed instead of approving a list of parts. Since SB 1270's introduction last year, CalSEMA has participated in discussions with members of the Senate, Assembly, and administration on SMARA and what modernizations may be needed. When we were not approached during the recess by the committee staff, we presumed that perhaps there would not be a Senate bill this year. So when Assemblymember Adam Gray approached us, because he represents so many operations in his district, employing hundreds of his constituents, we worked with him on SMARA modernization. The result was AB 1142 that puts forward complete changes to the inspection and financial assurance processes of the Act. We hope that this committee will consider that work product. We respectfully ask the committee to defer action on SB 209 until it is a complete policy whose impacts can be analyzed by stakeholders.
Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
California Asphalt Pavement Association. I apologize to the author. We didn't have time between analyzing the bill to get a letter into her before the hearing, but we also have an opposed position on the bill.
Thank you for your testimony. Any others in opposition at this time? Thank you. Senator Pavley? Any questions of any senators at this time? Senator Pavley?
Yes, I'd be glad to make a few comments. First of all, my staff and I would appreciate receiving the long list of technical concerns by RCRC, but I also appreciate their willingness to work with us. I believe they're participating in the governor's stakeholder process. This is what's new about this particular bill. They've had one group meeting. They have another one this Thursday. It is a cumulative approach. It needs to be, the goal is to do something this year that's reasonable, but to ignore it is really not an option. I think everyone realizes this is an important topic. We've had real problems out there with mines not being reclamated, not being fixed, not observing what's in the best interest of public health and safety in nearby areas. Some of the concerns were certainly reasonable and need to be addressed, and we were pledged to work collaboratively with local governments. One is that we know the state needs to provide more training to the local government workers who inspect the mines, and that we need to work with local governments to inspect mines that they have after they receive their new training. We all were on the same page as local governments are the first stop. State only steps in if they can't or won't do a good job on it. It's not, but it's to provide the oversight and the training. There's a variety of topics that need to be discussed, and mostly having adequate financial documents in place to make sure that any damage caused when people are no longer in business are repaired adequately. There have been problems with conflicts of interest out there in the real world, things that need to be resolved. This is a real problem, and I'm very grateful that the administration has recognized that as such, and they are indeed having these stakeholder groups. This is a vehicle to use what comes out of those groups for your discussion. It is different than the Assembly bill. It's a different way to go about addressing the problem. And so ask for your aye vote as this bill moves forward. And of course, I would be glad to bring it back to the committee if that's the committee's desire.
Thank you, Senator Pavley. Senator Allen?
Well, I was going to ask about this limiting of inspectors, and I understand so the key concern is about conflicts of interest, it seems like, with this inspector limitation concern?
That and a professional review of people who are trained in order to make sound decisions in regards to these issues. I mean, it's not something we're familiar with down in our district, but with 1,000 miles, there's some unbelievable problems that we can articulate a little bit better and give you real-life stories of what's going on out there. But we're not providing the training. Some local governments are doing a great job, others are not. And it is a problem when a mine is left. There isn't any reclamation plans. There weren't the finances to reclaim them, and the consequences can be real problematic, whether it's affecting neighboring properties or whether it's affecting water quality. Sierra Fund is well known for being responsible nonprofit that really has looked in depth at these issues, and respectfully ask for this process to continue, especially in light of the fact of the administrative stakeholder process is providing input to what will become the final bill.
Okay. Thank you. Senator Walk. Been moved. Senator Pavley, any final comments?
Ask for your I vote.
Okay, the motion is due pass to appropriations. Senators Pavley.
Aye.
Pavley, aye. Stone? No. Stone, no. Allen? Allen, aye. Fuller? Fuller, no. Hertzberg? Hertzberg, aye. Hueso? Hueso, aye. Jackson? Jackson, aye. Monning? Monning, aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye. 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 7 to 2. That bill's out.
7 to 2, that bill is out. Well,
She'll come up and.
There's a few bills up on call. We're going to go through the roll quickly, and then I believe we have caucuses, do we not? Okay, going through, we're missing anyone on the consent calendar? No. Everyone's voted on the consent calendar. So everyone's voted on file item 1? Okay, this is file item 1, SB 13 by Pavley, groundwater cleanup. Call the absent members.
Senators Fuller? No. Fuller, no. Hueso? Yes. Hueso, aye. So that's 8 to 1, it's out.
8 to 1, that item is out. File item 2, SB 20, it was on well logs and reports.
Current vote is 7 to 1. Senator Fuller? No. Fuller, no. 7 to 2.
7 to 2, that item is out. File item 3, SB 37 by Senator Nielsen.
Current vote is 6 to 0.
6 to 0, chair voting aye.
Senators Fuller? Fuller, aye. Hueso? Hueso, aye. Wolk? Wolk, aye. 9-0.
9-0, that item is out. File item 4 was pulled. File item 5, 6, and 12 are consent calendar, but everyone has voted on that. File item 7, SB 173 by Senator Nielsen, groundwater diminishes extractors. The vote right now is 2 ayes and 6 noes. Chair voting no. Call the absent members.
Senator Monning? No. Monning, no.
2 to 7, that item, we notice reconsideration per the author's request on that item. File item 8, state responsibility areas. These are SRA fire fees. The vote is 2 to 6. Chair voting no. Call the absent members.
Senator Monning? Monning, no.
2 to 7, that item fails. Notice reconsideration per the request of Senator Morrell. File item 9, SB 204 on state parks. Vote is 8 to 0.
Senator Fuller?
File item 9, state parks.
Fuller, no.
9 to 1. 8 to 1, sorry. 8 to 1. File item 10, Senator Lara's bill, SB 208 on integrated regional water management plans and advance payments.
Vote's 5 to 0.
Current vote is 5 to 0.
Senator Stone? Fuller? Fuller, no. Hueso? Hueso, aye. Jackson? Jackson, aye. Stone, no. 7 to 2.
Final vote is 7 to 2. That item is out. File item 11, SB 209 on surface minings. The vote is 7 to 2, and everyone has voted. 12 was on consent. Number 13 by Senator Lara, SB 355 on the San Gabriel and Lower LA River Mountains Conservancy. The vote is 5 to 0.
Senator Stone? Fuller? Fuller, no. Hueso? Hueso, aye. Jackson? Jackson, aye. Stone, no. Monning, aye. Okay.
The final vote is 7 to 2. That item is out. The next two are resolutions. Number 14, SJR 3 by Senator McGuire relating to Smith River. Vote is 4 to 0.
Senator Stone? No. Stone, no. Fuller. Fuller, no. Hueso. Hueso, aye. Jackson. Jackson, aye. Monning. Monning, aye.
Final vote is 7-2. That resolution is adopted. File item 15, AGR 4 by Assemblymember Dodd.
5-0.
The vote is 5-0.
Senator Stone? Stone, no. Fuller? Fuller, no. Hueso? Hueso, aye. Jackson? Jackson, aye.
Vote is 7-2. AJR is adopted. All right. I think that is it. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.